In this video, I'm going to show you how to place your Pitman arm on this Ford F-350. This attaches your drag link to your steering box. Let's get started. Let's remove the steering stabilizer from the drag link. Use an 18mm socket to remove the mounting nut. All right, now this actually came out of the drag link, which is great. A lot of times this gets stuck on here. You'll have to tap it up with a hammer. I'm just going to push this aside. Follow this to where it meets the Pitman arm and you'll see a cotter pin locking this mounting nut in. Straighten it out and remove it. Sometimes it's easiest with some cutters, so you can pull on it, discard it. You never want to reuse these. In my case, I have this little cap that's going over the nut, so I'm going to remove that. And then use a 24mm wrench or socket and remove that mounting nut. It is fairly tight, but once you break it free, you should be able to remove it. I'm going to leave this on here just a few threads so that when we separate the stud from the Pitman arm, it doesn't come flying down, but rather gets caught by the nut, and then you can remove it when you're ready to. With that said, hammer right on the end of the Pitman arm and the vibrations should break this free. Oh, all right, looks like I got it. Take the mounting nut off the rest of the way and pull this down. Now we're at the point where the Pitman arm needs to be unbolted from the steering box, and as you can see, there is no way to do this. You have two options here. One is to unbolt the entire steering box, disconnect it, take it off the truck, and, well, pull the Pitman arm that way. The second option is to unbolt this large bracket, which is bolted onto the frame. That is the option I'm going to go for because for me, it's easier to remove 2 bolts and 3 mounting nuts than it is to undo power steering lines, steering shaft, and remove the entire box, and then have it free floating while I'm trying to pry this off. I would rather have it mounted solid on the frame so I can put some pressure on it. These are usually pressed on here, so we'll probably need a puller. With that said, 2 18mm mounting bolts and 3 21mm mounting nuts up top there. Let's take them all out. These bolts are actually on a bracket and they come out as an assembly from the backside. This can now slide down and out of our way. Now you're going to need a 1 13/16 socket in order to get over this large mounting nut that is on the Pitman arm. Also, you're going to want to spin this because no matter what you use to break it free, until the steering box bottoms out this way, which it just did, it's going to keep spinning. So now, put a long breaker bar or ratchet on it with some leverage, break this free. It is very tight, but once you break it free, it shouldn't be that tight anymore. You should be able to easily loosen it up. It's just breaking it free could take a little bit of force. All right, got it. Remove this mounting nut. However, leave it on just a few threads so that now we can put a puller on this, break this free, but when it does pop off, it's not going to come shooting down, but rather stop on the nut, and then we'll take it off when we're ready to. Here's the Pitman Arm Puller that I have. I'm going to slide it over. It's got a bolt in the center with a little pin so it can lock in. The stud that comes out of the steering box should have a slight hole in it to receive that pin so everything can stay lined up and centered. And once you have this, well, lined up and centered, make sure you oil up the threads on this so they don't get damaged. And let's put some pressure on it and hopefully that pops out. And I say hopefully because sometimes it needs a little bit more than just pressure. We might need to hit it with a hammer, air chisel, or even heat it up. That is a possibility. For now, let's try and pull it off as is. This is going to want to bottom out the other way now. That's okay. Oh, there we go. Got it. So a lot of pressure and vibration. Got it broken free. And there he goes. Got the mounting nut off completely. And there's your Pitman arm. I put a little bit of grease on the threads and the splines up there so it can help us install the new Pitman arm better. Make sure you're putting it on the correct way. It is tapered on both ends in only one direction. And it can only line up one way. Well, really it can line up 4 ways, but if you remember that it was pointing this way, you can't really put it off one spline because it's got cutouts that will only allow it to line up every 90 degrees. So it would be very far off. Put on the mounting nut after you've installed the Pitman arm. And with this bottomed out by hand, let's grab that socket and tighten it up until it is fully seated. All right, that's very tight. I'm going to switch over to my breaker bar with a long pipe and put some force into it. The torque for this is 350 foot-pounds. I do not have a torque wrench that goes that high. If you do, go ahead and torque it. If not, make it very tight, the best you can, with a breaker bar and a piece of pipe for leverage. Oh. All right, that's starting to bend the pipe, so I'm gonna stop right there. That is plenty tight. Let's mount the track bar with this bracket and just wiggle it and twist it until you get it to line up. Now the easiest thing to do is to line up these 3 bolts first. You can push this up into position. Of course, you're gonna have to have your bolts ready. So just slide them in from the back side, that is. Just like that. And then I'm going to put these 2 in just so I can make sure everything is lined up on both ends. Only then will I tighten everything up. It might be necessary to push up on this to get the bolt hole to line up. There we go. The mounting nuts that go on top of the frame here are actually removable. They have a little bracket that you can hold them by and, well, really attach them. So if yours fell out, put them back in. If not, well, they should still be right there in position, ready to go. Okay, so that one caught on its threads. With those tightened up, these should have centered themselves. So when you look at your bolts, they should be in the center of the hole, which is very slightly oblong so that you can have a little bit of an adjustment if needed. So I'm going to put my 3 mounting nuts on this side, and then we'll tighten these up as well. All right, try to get those nice and tight. Now take your drag link and put it back through the Pitman arm. Make sure it's seated, and you can spin the Pitman arm if needed, of course, to line everything up. Put the mounting nut on. Make sure this is pushed up all the way, and let's bottom this out. The torque on that mounting nut is going to be 129 foot-pounds. If you are unable to torque it, then just do your best to get it nice and tight, and then of course lining up the cotter pin slot. There's a lot in the way here, so most likely it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to fit a torque wrench in this area. If you can, however, once again, 129 foot-pounds. Okay, that's pretty tight right there, and my cotter pin slot lines up, so let's stick that through. Get your cotter pin in, and of course we're going to bend it over to lock it in fully. Let's get the steering linkage damper installed, back through the drag link, and reinstall the mounting nut. Once it's tight and fully seated, torque this to 59 foot-pounds. That's it right there.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.